So initially, Hanna and her sisters only came on my radar because Carrie Fisher's in it, and I love her. But then I saw it had 7.9 out of 10 on IMDb, which is an incredible rating, and I thought, well, this has to be fantastic. And I've seen it, and I have to say I'm a little confused at how high that rating is. This is not a bad film, and I did enjoy watching it, but there are problems with it, and I don't think it's infallible. So I think 7.9 is quite extreme. It's won 3 Oscars, which we will look at soon. And the Oscars it's won, I completely understand. But the actual narrative itself, it ebbs and flows. So this was released in 1986, written and directed by Woody Allen, with a brilliant cast, including obviously Fisher, Michael Caine, Mia Farrow, Woody Allen himself, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, John Turturro, a whole cast of brilliant names. And the narrative is complex. So the description from IMDb is as follows. Between 2 Thanksgivings, 2 years apart, Hannah's husband falls in love with her sister Lee, while her hypochondriac ex-husband rekindles his relationship with her sister Holly. It's very much, well, I feel like it's a love triangle, but it's more like a love octagon because it's all over the place. And that's quite interesting, and it's quite chaotic, and, you know, this is a comedy. Sometimes it gets a little tense, but for the most part I think it's a very easy watch in terms of the emotions. Where it's not an easy watch is the timeline. It goes back and forth a lot, it's uncomfortable, and I don't think it's always easy to kind of keep up with that. And when something is a comedy, now it's a comedy drama, so I can see it's kind of blending the two. But when you're watching something that's supposed to be a relaxing, enjoyable, funny watch, you should never have to work so hard as to try and keep up with the timeline. Because that just ruins the entire point of a comedy. A comedy is supposed to be relief, it's supposed to be cathartic, it's supposed to be entertaining and fun and easy. When you have to focus so much that you're not paying attention to the comedic parts and just trying to focus on the narrative development and the timeline, it's not a good thing. It detracts from what could have otherwise been a really fantastic film. So that's my biggest issue with this. And as big issues go, I guess it's not really the most awful problem. And I did like the narrative. It's just the back and forth and the pacing of it as well. I think halfway through it kind of gets a little bit repetitive and a little bit dull. But around about that, the first third, the final third, really enjoyable. I just think the middle needed to pick up pace. A lot could have been cut from this, and basically all of the boring bits could have been removed, and it still would have been a pretty decent length and very funny. And that is where the film excels, and completely why I understand it would be well received. The script, the dialogue, the discourse, the communications, it's so funny. The wit is brilliant. It's very well written. So while the timeline's a mess and the pacing's not great, it is funny. It's sometimes quite dry humour, which I love. Sometimes it's a little bit silly. Sometimes we laugh at others' expenses. It's good. I do like that aspect, and I think the acting's great, the comedic timing's fantastic. We have some great reactions, and the narrative style is quite interesting. Sometimes we will hear points of view from, for example, Hanna. So it's very creative in that aspect. The Oscars it won were the Best Actor in a Supporting Role for Michael Caine, Best Actress in a Supporting Role for Dianne Wiest, and Best Writing Screenplay written directly for the screen for Woody Allen, which, you know, I completely get that. I do think it deserved those specific awards. It won the Golden Globes Best Motion Picture Comedy or Musical, which I think, depending what it was up against, is maybe a bit of a stretch. Surprisingly, I have actually just looked at what it was up against, and yeah, it was up against Crimes of the Heart, Crocodile Dundee, Down and Out in Beverly Hills, Peggy Sue Got Married, and Little Shop of Horrors. So, yeah, maybe it did deserve that award compared to those. It won Best Direction at the BAFTAs, which I don't agree with, but it did win Best Screenplay. I'm not going to go through the rest of the awards. It won 24, an additional 24 So it's very well received, and personally I don't think it lives up to the hype. I don't think it was this amazing film that was the best thing I'd ever seen. But I can see the appeal. I think it's overhyped, but it's still a decent film. And would I recommend it? Of course, absolutely, yes, I definitely recommend it. There's nothing wrong with it, apart from, a few things here and there. Carrie Fisher was not in as much as I'd hoped, but that's by the by because the film is still decent. Not the best film in the world, not as good as what the internet told me it would be, but I still enjoyed the time spent watching it.